Welcome to Easy Limo Learning Simplified. My name is Eric. I'll be taking you through this topic, squares and square roots. And for this lesson, we're looking at squares of numbers from tables. So we'll see how we can find the squares from tables. We've done that before, where we are finding the squares of numbers by multiplication method. We also did squares of numbers by prime factorization method. Now we want to see how we can find the squares of numbers using tables. So we have a table called squares of tables. And for this lesson, we're going to focus on those numbers that are in between 1 and 10. Remember, we can have numbers between 0 and 1, 1 and 10, and those numbers that are more than 10. So for this lesson, we'll just narrow it down to the numbers that are in between 1 and 10. And of course, we'll go through some few sample questions to help us see how that can be done, how you are able to find the squares of numbers from tables. So how do you do it? And then, of course, at the end of the lesson, we'll be able to give you some assignment to help you practice on what you're going to learn, and just to help you gauge on your level of understanding of the concepts as discussed through this lesson. So initially, we did squares of these numbers, the same numbers. Remember, we did multiplication method, prime factorization method, among the other methods that we have used before. So we want to see how we can be able to use tables. So this table is called tables of squares. It's basically a tabulation of squares of numbers. For example, if you want to get the square of 2, you just move to the table and you check the square of 2. You read it from the table directly without necessarily going through the process that we went through previously as you are trying to find the squares of numbers using either prime factorization method or multiplication method or any other approach that we looked at previously. So this table on the edition that I'm using, it's on page 19, and part of it is on page 20. So it covers the 2 pages. So you can check if you're using the 6th edition, you can possibly try and see if you're able to find it. A better way of locating this page or locating this table is when you have your 4-figure mathematical table, you just simply go to the table of content and check how you are able to get the tables of squares. You know, that is just a collection of squares of numbers, whereby if you are finding the square of a number, you simply read it from there. So there are those numbers that their squares are not really here, but there is a way you can modify them. You're going to see how you can modify them so that you are still going to use the same table to help you find their squares. That possibly we'll do in our next lesson. So for now, let's see how we can find the squares of numbers from this table, and especially those numbers that are between 1 and 10. So first, I want to look at the parts of this table. So this table, we have the first column, column headed X, and then we have, this is the main column, this one here, the whole of this, this column ranging from 0 to 9. We call it main column. This is where the squares of numbers are, the main column. Then this other one, the one that is ranging from 1 to 9, we call it differences column. So differences column. Yes. So you will take note of the 3 columns. You have the X column, main column, and differences column. Those are the various columns that we're going to use to help us find the squares of numbers. You see. So we're going to see how. So how do you do it? That is what is most important for now. How do you use the 3 columns that are mentioned? The column headed X, the main column 0 to 9, and the differences column 1 to 9. How do you use the 3 columns to help you find the squares of numbers? And I want to start with this number here. So if you're finding the square of this number, this is 2.198 squared. Before I continue, it's also very important to note that this table, the numbers are approximated. They're rounded off to 4 figures only. So even as you try to find the square of a number, then make sure the number is written to 4 figures. It's rounded off to 4 figures. So if it's a number that is having more than 4 digits, 4 figures, then you remember to round it round it off to 4 figures. Very, very important, because that is what is accommodated within this book. It's actually called 4-figure mathematical table. So what you're going to do, the procedure is you highlight the first 2 digits of the number first. Then you check, you try to find that number from the column headed X. So move downwards. You know, you can move and move and move and move and move. This column here starts from 0, you know, from 1.0 all the way up to 9.9. So you can continue up to 9.9. So ours is ending at 2.1. So we continue with it up to 2.1. Then once you locate the number found by the first 2 digits, you move across that row until you get to, so you are moving across that row first in the main column, the column headed from 0 to 9, you know, this column here. So you'll move across this, you know, across until you have the next digit 9. So next digit 9, that is the heading. So 9 is here. So where this column here intersects with this row here, that is the square of the number 2.19. So that is going to be 4.796. But now we call it differences because we have only obtained the square of the number 2.19. So there is also 8 here. That we call it the difference. So that one you continue with the row until you get that column headed number 8. So number 8 is here. So you move with it downwards and you move with this again where the 2 intersect, where they meet. That will give you the square of that number, 0.0008. You see. So you add it, you know, here now you add it. So you are adding that. And take note of the way I'm adding it, actually, not here, but you add it here, 3, 4. So if you add, this is 0, 10, 0 carry 1, 13, 3 carry 1, 8, 4. So it means the square of 2.198 is 4.830. So at this point now you can ignore the 0. So this number is approximately equal to 4.83. That is the square of 2.198. So again, we have 2.0. So 2.0 is here. So this one can be written as 2.000, so that I have 4 digits. Remember, 4 figures. So 4 figures, I'm interested in the 4 figures. So if they are not there, I can fill up the spaces left using zeros. So again, the first 2 digits we check from this column here. See, the first 2 digits we'll check from this column headed X, and that is 2.0. So I'll move downwards until I get to 2.0. This is where 2.0 is. So you move across that row until you get to the column headed 0, and that is right over here. So the number is here, 4.00. So it means this number squared is 4.000, or simply 4. Or simply 4. I would say, why did I go to the other digit? You know, 0.0, then 0, then why did I use the 0 here? Because the difference column does not have 0. There is no column headed 0 there, so you stop. So it means the square of 2 is just 4. And you can see square of 2 simply means 2 by 2, which is 4. So I've used the table to help me do that. Let me try use the last one here. So the first 2 columns, column headed X, you move up to 1.4. Then you move across up to the column headed number 3. That 3 is the one that is the next digit here. You have, so this squared is going to be 2.045. So 2.045. So you continue up to the differences column. So I'm going to check column headed 7 in the differences column. So continue with that number 7. So where these 2 intersect, that is the number that I'm looking for. So you add it here. Take note of the way I'm adding it. I'm adding to the last digits. So 5, 6, 0. So it means 1.437 squared is equals to 2.065. Approximately, if you approximate the answer to 4 figures, that's what you're supposed to get. So here now the difference is the same, only that now we are using the symbol power 2 to represent the square of a number, you know. So again, this is going to be 2.000 squared. So the first two digits again we check from here, column headed X. So you move downwards until you get to 2.0. Then move across until you get to the column headed. Next digit is 0. So the point of intersection of the two, that gives us the square. So that is going to be 4.000, which is just 4. Now, when it comes to this one here, this is now a number that is more than 4 figures, so you have to round off. So if this is rounded off, it's going to be 1.023 squared. Remember, you draw the cutoff line here. The digit after the cutoff line is less than 5. So nothing happens to the digit before. So that one we already did in the previous videos. You can check and see how that can be done. So again, first two digits, check from the column headed X, this column here. That is 1.0. Move across until you get to the next digit, which is 2. So 2 is here. So 1.040. 1.040. We know the last 0 here does not really count that much, but don't ignore it for now. Please let it be first. Okay. So the difference as column now, we are going to check the column headed 3. So continue. Column 1, column 2, and column 3 is here. So point of intersection of the column and the row is 6. So add that 6 here. So you get 1.046. So it means 1.023 is approximately equal to 1.046 if you square it, you know. That is 1.023 squared is equals to this one here. So that gives you an approximate value of the whole number there squared. Yes. Finally, we have this one here. Again, you do the same thing. You have to round it off to 4 figures. So you have 1.804 squared. So the first two digits, again, we check from here. 1 point what? 1.8 is here. Then you move across until next digit is 0. So this one, 0 is just here. So 3.240. So 3.240. Please, that last 0 it doesn't count that much, yes, but don't remove it for now. In this context, don't remove it. So remember to understand the context right. So we have this other one, 4. We have not gotten the square root of that. So you continue up to the differences column. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the column number 4 is this. Where they intersect, that is the number we are looking for, 15. So see the way I'm adding 15? The last digits, we add it on the last digit. Even if it was just one digit here, I would have just added on the last digit only. So that is 5, 5, 2, 3. So it means 1.804 squared is equals to approximately 4 figures. It's going to be 3.255. So that gives you an approximate value of the square of 1.80379. And so that is all. The assignment is here that can help you practice on the same thing that you have learned. Just try and use the tables of squares from the 4-figure mathematical tables. You'll be able to do that. Post the responses in the comment section. We look at them and give feedback in the due course. Otherwise, that marks the end. For now, till next lesson, goodbye.